My boss fired me 2 weeks before my sales commission was due to pay out on a $2 million deal I'd spent 8 months securing. "We're reorganizing the territory," he said. "Your position is being eliminated." I thanked him for the opportunity and left without protesting. That evening, I made one single call that brought their entire company to its knees within 48 hours. Let me tell you how 15 years of loyalty meant nothing when corporate greed took over, and how one phone call changed not just my life, but an entire industry. My name is Michael Thompson, and for 15 years, I was the kind of sales director companies dream about. Top performer 3 years running. The guy they called when million-dollar deals needed closing. I'd built my reputation in pharmaceutical sales the hard way, through relationships, integrity, and results that spoke louder than any PowerPoint presentation. The Johnson & Associates deal was my masterpiece. 8 months of nurturing relationships with their procurement team. Countless overnight trips to their headquarters in Chicago. Presentations that I'd rehearsed until I could deliver them in my sleep. Jennifer Johnson, their CEO, wasn't just a client. We'd known each other since college, back when she was Jenny from accounting and I was Mike who couldn't afford textbooks. "Michael," she'd tell me during our monthly check-ins, "you're not just selling us equipment, you're selling us trust. And in this business, trust is everything." That $2 million deal wasn't just about the money, though the $200,000 commission would change everything for my family. My son David, 16 and brilliant, had his heart set on Harvard Medical School. My wife Patricia had been dreaming about that lake house upstate for 10 years, cutting pictures from magazines and putting them on our refrigerator like a vision board. But success came with a price. I missed David's championship baseball game because a client dinner ran late. Patricia would find me still working at 2 a.m., laptop glowing in our bedroom, and she'd whisper, "Michael, you're missing David's entire childhood for these deals." "Just this one big deal," I'd promise her, the same promise I'd made dozens of times before. "After the Johnson commission comes through, I'll have time. We'll have everything we've worked for." What I didn't see coming was Bradley Wilson. 35 years old, MBA from Wharton, and hungry in the way that makes older guys like me nervous. He showed up as our new regional manager in March, right when the Johnson deal was heating up. Everything about him screamed ambition. The perfectly pressed suits, the way he took notes during every conversation, how he'd say things like, "Interesting approach, Michael," though not exactly how we typically handle enterprise clients. I should have paid attention to those red flags, should have noticed how he started shadowing my meetings with Johnson & Associates, claiming he was learning from the best. Should have been suspicious when he asked detailed questions about my relationship history with Jennifer, about pricing strategies, about every piece of leverage I'd built over 8 months. But I was focused on closing the deal. Friday afternoon, I got the email that should have been a celebration. Contract execution scheduled for Monday, 9 a.m. Commission payout following standard 30-day processing. $200,000. David's tuition, Patricia's lake house, 15 years of grinding finally paying off. Then I got the second email. Territory realignment discussion, Friday, 3 p.m. My gut dropped. In 15 years, I'd never seen a territory realignment that ended well for anyone but the company's bottom line. That night, I called my mother. At 78, Margaret Thompson had seen enough workplace politics to smell trouble from 3 states away. "Michael," she said, her voice carrying that maternal warning tone I'd learned to respect. That boy sounds hungry for your job. Your father always taught you. Never trust a man who smiles too much in business. The next few weeks felt like watching a slow-motion car crash. Bradley started appearing in meetings I wasn't invited to. My assistant, who'd been with me for 5 years, suddenly became too busy to help with my usual requests. The younger sales reps, the ones Bradley had been courting with prime leads and FaceTime, started treating me like I was already gone. But the real wake-up call came on a Thursday afternoon when I walked past the conference room and heard Bradley on a phone call. "The Thompson deal closes next Friday," he was saying. "Territory transfer should happen Monday. Johnson already trusts him, so the transition will be seamless." I stood frozen in the hallway, coffee cup shaking in my hand, as the pieces fell into place. They weren't just reorganizing territories. They were stealing my commission. That night, I sat in my car outside David's school, waiting for baseball practice to end, and did the math. 8 months of work, hundreds of hours building relationships, a $200,000 commission that would change my family's future. All of it about to be handed to someone who'd been at the company for 3 months. David knocked on the passenger window, equipment bag slung over his shoulder, and saw my face. "Dad, why do you look like someone died?" I forced a smile and unlocked the door. "Just work stuff, buddy. How was practice?" But as we drove home, past the houses with their perfect lawns and their families, who probably never worried about territory realignments, I made a decision. They could fire me. They could steal my commission. But they'd forgotten one crucial detail about the Johnson deal. Those relationships they thought they could transfer? They weren't the company's relationships. They were mine. Friday afternoon arrived with the efficiency of an execution. Conference room B, 3 p.m. sharp. Bradley was there, of course, along with Regional VP Karen Stevens and HR Director Mark Phillips. They had folders prepared, scripts rehearsed, and the kind of corporate sympathy that comes with practice. "Michael," Karen began, her voice carrying that careful tone they teach in management seminars, "as you know, the company is going through some strategic realignments. Unfortunately, your position is being eliminated, effective immediately." She slid a folder across the table. "Bradley will be assuming responsibility for your territory, including all existing client relationships. We're confident this transition will be seamless for our clients." I opened the folder. Severance package, standard 2 weeks, non-compete clause, and buried in the legal language, the clause that made my blood run cold. All pending commissions are forfeited upon termination. 8 months of work, $200,000. Gone. But here's what they didn't expect. I smiled. "I understand," I said, closing the folder and standing up. "Business needs evolve. I appreciate the opportunity I've had here." I shook Karen's hand, then Mark's, then turned to Bradley. His hand was already extended, confidence radiating from every pore. "Bradley," I said, gripping his hand firmly, "Jennifer Johnson is particular about relationships. She values personal trust above everything else. Good luck." Something flickered in his eyes, uncertainty, maybe even fear. But it was too late for second thoughts. I packed my personal items while my former colleagues whispered and avoided eye contact. 15 years of awards, client thank you notes, photos from company retreats. David's Harvard acceptance letter was still pinned to my bulletin board. I touched it once, gently, before security escorted me to the parking garage. The drive home was the longest 20 minutes of my life. Patricia was in the kitchen, humming while she prepared dinner, completely unaware that our world had just shifted on its axis. David was at the kitchen table, working on calculus homework, probably thinking about how that Harvard acceptance was going to change his life. "Family," I said, my voice steady despite everything. "I need to tell you something." Patricia turned from the stove, spatula in hand, and I watched her face change as she read my expression. "Oh, God," she whispered. "The job. They fired me today, right before the Johnson Commission was due to pay out." The spatula clattered to the floor. David looked up from his homework, confusion written across his 16-year-old face. "Dad, what does that mean for everything?" I sat down at the kitchen table, pulling both of them close. "It means we have a choice to make. We can accept what they've done to us, or we can fight back." Patricia's hand trembled as she touched my cheek. "Michael, what can we do? They have all the power." "No," I said, pulling out my phone and staring at Jennifer Johnson's contact information. "They think they have all the power, but they forgot something crucial." That evening, I sat in my home office for 30 minutes, staring at my phone. Patricia knocked on the door around 9 o'clock. "Michael, are you okay?" "Come here," I said. She sat on the arm of my chair, her hand on my shoulder. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking about that contract. Bradley is so confident he's going to close on Monday." "What about it?" I showed her the phone screen, Jennifer Johnson's number glowing in the darkness. "The contract has a relationship clause. If the primary relationship manager leaves the company, the client has the right to void the agreement." Patricia's eyes widened. "You mean?" "I mean they fired the one person who could guarantee that deal would close." "Michael," she said quietly, "are you sure about this?" I thought about David's Harvard dreams, about the lake house Patricia had been dreaming about for a decade, about 15 years of loyalty that meant nothing when quarterly numbers needed improving. "Make the call, Michael," Patricia whispered. I dialed Jennifer's direct line. She answered on the second ring. "Michael, what's wrong? You sound upset." "Jennifer, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen carefully. They fired me today. 2 weeks before the Johnson deal closes, they're planning to transfer you to a new account manager on Monday." The silence on the other end lasted so long, I thought the call had dropped. "They what?" Her voice had gone from concerned to cold in the span of 2 words. "They eliminated my position to avoid paying my commission. Bradley Wilson will be calling you Monday morning to introduce himself as your new point of contact." "Michael," Jennifer said, and I could hear papers rustling in the background. "Pull up that contract we've been working on. Section 12, subsection 4. I opened my laptop, pulled up the file I'd been reviewing for weeks. The relationship clause. "Read it to me." "Primary relationship manager change voids this agreement unless client provides written consent within 48 hours of notification." "And when were we notified of this change?" "You weren't. You're finding out now at 9:30 p.m. on a Friday." Jennifer's laugh was sharp and bitter. 15 years, Michael. 15 years you've been our point of contact. Every piece of equipment we've bought, every service contract, every expansion. And they thought they could just transfer that relationship like a file folder? "I'm sorry, Jennifer. I know this complicates things for you." "Complicates things?" She was quiet for a moment, and when she spoke again, her voice carried the steel I'd seen her use in boardroom negotiations. "Michael, what if I told you This $2 million deal was actually a test. My heart stopped. A test? We've been evaluating you for something bigger, much bigger. That $2 million was just phase one of a 3-year, $50 million equipment modernization program. The room started spinning. $50 million. The commission on that would be... Jennifer, what are you saying? I'm saying that if your company can discard loyalty this easily, then maybe it's time Johnson & Associates found a partner who values relationships over quarterly earnings. But the contract will be voided Monday morning. And Michael, I'm going to make sure everyone in our industry knows exactly why. After I hung up, Patricia and I sat in silence for 10 minutes. Finally, David appeared in the doorway. Dad, is everything going to be okay? I pulled him into a hug. Son, I think everything is going to be better than okay. That weekend, my phone didn't stop ringing. Bradley called 6 times, his voicemails growing increasingly desperate. Michael, whatever you said to Jennifer, we can work this out. Karen Stevens called Sunday morning. Let's discuss your severance package. By Sunday evening, even CEO Marcus Wright was leaving messages. But the call that changed everything came Monday morning at 8:15 a.m., 15 minutes before Bradley was supposed to close the deal that would define his career. Michael, Jennifer's voice was crisp, professional. I've got some news. Johnson & Associates is starting our own medical device consulting firm. We want you as our chief revenue officer. $300,000 base salary, significant equity position, and your first client is already secured. My first client? A $50 million account that believes relationships matter more than corporate politics. I looked across the kitchen table at Patricia, who was listening to every word, and at David, who was getting ready for school like it was any other Monday. Except it wasn't any other Monday. It was the Monday that corporate greed finally met its match. And we were just getting started. By Tuesday morning, the ripple effects of that single phone call had become a tsunami. Johnson & Associates officially withdrew from the $2 million deal at 9 a.m. sharp, sending an email that copied half the medical device industry on the distribution list. The subject line was surgical in its precision. Contract termination due to unethical business practices. I was having coffee with Patricia when my phone started buzzing with news alerts. Medical device stock drops 8% on major contract loss. Industry questions sales ethics after high-profile deal collapse. Aidai, Johnson & Associates cites relationship betrayal in contract void. Michael, Patricia said, watching me scroll through the notifications. What have we started? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Bradley's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail, then played it on speaker. Michael, please. They're talking about firing me. The board is in emergency session. Whatever Jennifer told them, it's bigger than just the Johnson deal. Please call me back. The desperation in his voice should have made me feel guilty. Instead, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. The satisfaction of watching justice unfold in real time. An hour later, Jennifer called with news that made my coffee cup shake in my hands. Michael, I need to tell you something about the offer I made yesterday. The consulting firm isn't just an idea. It's been in development for 6 months. We've been watching how companies like yours treat their veteran sales staff, and frankly, we're disgusted. She paused, and I could hear papers shuffling in the background. You weren't the first, Michael. We've seen this pattern at least a dozen times in the past 2 years. Companies hire experienced reps to build relationships, then fire them right before major commissions come due. They keep the relationships, eliminate the expense. My blood ran cold. Jennifer, are you saying this was premeditated? Absolutely. And not just at your company. It's become an industry-wide cost-cutting strategy. Fire the expensive veterans, hire cheaper replacements, assume the relationships will transfer automatically. Patricia grabbed my hand across the kitchen table. We'd thought this was personal, a betrayal directed specifically at me, but it was worse. It was systematic. The consulting firm, Jennifer continued, is our answer to that. We want to work directly with sales professionals who've proven their integrity, cutting out the corporate middlemen who see relationships as transferable assets. What are you asking me to do? Change the game entirely. And Michael, you're not the only veteran rep we've been watching. That afternoon, I got a call that stopped me dead in my tracks. Sarah Martinez, the HR assistant who'd warned me about the termination plan, was sobbing on the other end of the line. Michael, they fired Bradley this morning, made him the scapegoat. But that's not why I'm calling. Her voice dropped to a whisper. There are 3 other deals at risk. Major clients are asking questions about what happened to you. Management is in full panic mode. Sarah, what aren't you telling me? They offered everyone retention bonuses this afternoon. Double salary increases, equity packages, anything to keep people from jumping ship. They know the whole system is about to collapse. That evening, I received an email that made my 15 years of corporate loyalty feel like a cruel joke. The sender was Dr. Robert Chen, a client I'd worked with for 7 years at Pacific Medical Group. Michael, heard through the grapevine what happened to you. Wanted you to know we're reconsidering our $8 million equipment contract with your former company. If they'll betray someone like you, what does that say about their integrity with customers? Call me. We need to talk. I forwarded the email to Jennifer. Her response came back in minutes. Michael, how many clients like Dr. Chen do you have? I spent 2 hours going through my contact list, counting relationships built over 15 years of honest business. The number was staggering. 43 major accounts, representing over $200 million in annual business. Patricia, I said that night as we were getting ready for bed, what if this isn't just about getting even? What if we accidentally started something bigger? She sat on the edge of our bed, brushing her hair, and looked at me through the mirror. What do you mean? I mean, what if that one phone call to Jennifer ends up protecting every veteran sales rep in the industry? Wednesday morning brought a knock on our front door that I never expected. I opened it to find Marcus Wright, CEO of my former company, standing on my porch with the kind of desperation I'd only seen in boardroom emergencies. Marcus, I stepped back, genuinely shocked. What are you doing here? Michael, we need to talk. Can I come in? Patricia appeared behind me, David hovering in the hallway, like this was some kind of fascinating reality show. Kids should probably go upstairs, I said quietly. David looked disappointed, but headed toward his room. Patricia crossed her arms, but stayed put. Michael, Marcus began once we were seated in my living room. I had no idea about the termination timing. This isn't how we do business. This isn't who we are. Isn't it? I kept my voice level, professional. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks exactly like who you are. Marcus ran his hands through his hair, a gesture I'd never seen from him in years of company meetings. Bradley was under pressure from the board to cut costs. Commission savings were mandated, not optional. You were... He stopped, seeming to realize how that sentence was going to end. I was collateral damage in a bigger financial picture. I finished for him. I get it, Marcus. I understand the economics. What I don't understand is why you're sitting in my living room now. Because in 3 days, you've cost us $47 million in lost and at-risk contracts. Because our stock price has dropped 15%. Because the trade publications are writing articles about ethical sales practices and using our company as the example of what not to do. He leaned forward, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Fear. Michael, I want to offer you the VP of sales position. $400,000 salary, full equity package, complete control over sales culture and commission policies. Help us rebuild what we've broken. Patricia's sharp intake of breath was audible across the room. $400,000 was double what I'd been making. The equity package alone could set us up for life. And if I say no, then we'll probably lose another $50 million in contracts by the end of the month. Jennifer Johnson isn't just voiding her deal. She's actively campaigning against us with every major player in the industry. I looked at Patricia, who was staring at me with an expression I couldn't read. Then I thought about the email from Dr. Chen, about Sarah Martinez crying on the phone, about all the veteran reps who'd been quietly discarded by companies looking to save on commissions. Marcus, I need to ask you something, and I want an honest answer. Okay. How many other companies are doing this? The fire before commission strategy? His silence told me everything I needed to know. Jesus, Patricia whispered. It's everywhere. Marcus, I said finally, I appreciate the offer. I really do. But I think I'm going to pass. The color drained from his face. Michael, please. Think about your family. Think about David's future. I am thinking about David's future. I'm thinking about the world I want him to work in 20 years from now. After Marcus left, Patricia and I sat on our couch for an hour without speaking. Finally, she turned to me. Michael, that was $400,000 you just walked away from. I know. Plus, equity that could have been worth millions. I know that too. She was quiet for another moment. I'm proud of you. That afternoon, Jennifer called with an update that made Marcus's offer seem quaint. Michael, the consulting firm has received $10 million in Series A funding. We have 5 major medical device companies as founding clients, and they're all asking for the same thing: direct access to ethical sales professionals with proven track records. Jennifer, what exactly are you building here? We're building the future of B2B sales. No corporate middlemen, no commission theft, no relationship transfers, just experienced professionals working directly with clients who value integrity. And you want me to help build this? I want you to lead it. Chief Revenue Officer, significant equity position, and Michael, you get to hire your own team. That evening, I called David downstairs for a family meeting. Son, I need to ask you something important. If you had a choice between Dad taking a safe, high-paying job at a company that does bad things or starting something new that could help a lot of people but might not work out, what would you choose? David looked at me with the kind of seriousness that reminded me he was almost an adult. Dad, what would make you proud of yourself? Smart kid. Thursday morning, I called Jennifer back. I'm in, but I have conditions. Name them. Sarah Martinez comes with me as head of HR. Bradley Wilson gets a second chance if he wants it. Nobody deserves to be destroyed for following bad orders. And we create a foundation to help sales professionals who've been screwed over by this commission theft strategy. Done. Anything else? Yeah. We make this so successful that every major corporation has to rethink how they treat their sales teams. Michael, Jennifer said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. I think that's exactly what we're going to do. 6 months later, I was sitting in a conference room in downtown Chicago, looking out at Lake Michigan and thinking about how dramatically life can change with a single phone call. The consulting firm, now called Integrity Sales Partners, had grown beyond anything we'd imagined. 15 veteran sales professionals had joined our team, each bringing their own network of client relationships. We'd secured $25 million in first-year revenue with a 95% client retention rate. Industry publications were calling us the ethical sales revolution. And 3 major universities had reached out about creating case studies. But the real victory was in the ripple effects. Marcus Wright's company had indeed implemented the sales culture reforms they'd promised, creating industry-leading policies protecting veteran rep commissions. 2 of their major competitors had followed suit. The trade association had announced new ethical sales standards that were being adopted across the industry. Sarah Martinez knocked on my office door, holding a stack of resumes. Michael, we've got 47 applications for the new positions, all veteran reps with stories similar to yours. How many companies are we talking about? 16. Across 4 different industries. I leaned back in my chair, thinking about that night when I'd stared at Jennifer's phone number for 30 minutes, afraid to make the call that would change everything. David appeared in my doorway, home from his first semester at Harvard, full merit scholarship, earned entirely on his academic achievements. Dad, can I ask you something? Always. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't made that call to Jennifer? I looked out at the lake, then at the photos on my desk. Patricia at our lake house, our team at the company retreat, David at his Harvard graduation ceremony, the industry award I'd received for sales leadership and ethics innovation. Yeah, I think about it sometimes, but then I remember something your mom said that night. What? She said, "Make the call, Michael." And I realized that sometimes the most important call you'll ever make is the one that stands up for what's right. David smiled. I'm proud of you, Dad. I'm proud of you too, son. And I'm proud of what we built. Not just the company, but the idea that integrity and profit can coexist. That evening, Patricia and I sat on the deck of our lake house, watching the sunset paint the water gold. My phone rang. Another sales professional seeking help. Another company realizing that ethical treatment of employees wasn't just morally right, but financially smart. You know what the best part is, Patricia said, leaning against my shoulder. What's that? You didn't just get revenge. You built something so much better that everyone wants to follow your example. I thought about Bradley Wilson, now one of our most successful team members, about Sarah Martinez leading our HR initiatives, about the hundreds of sales professionals who no longer had to fear commission theft because of the industry changes we'd sparked. The best revenge, I said, answering the phone to help another rep who'd been betrayed by corporate greed, isn't getting even. It's building something so much better that it changes the rules for everyone. They tried to steal my commission and thought they could transfer relationships like spreadsheet entries. Instead, that one phone call built an empire founded on the very principle they'd tried to destroy. That in business, As in life, relationships built on trust and integrity are the only ones worth having. And every time my phone rings with another sales professional seeking justice, I remember that sometimes standing up for yourself means standing up for everyone.